Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Turin here with another Warhammer Total War online commentary. In this battle, I'm going to be piloting the Empire, and I'm going to be facing off against the new and awesome Beastmen. So it definitely should be a fun matchup. I really actually like playing against them. I feel like it's a very good way to learn them because they are a very powerful faction. So you essentially learn what crushes you. So as far as my composition goes, I have two groups of handgunners. I have one great cannon to kind of pull him into conflict as well as target his large units. It'll definitely be helpful in that regard. I have a group of spearmen here, definitely decent for holding down the front line. And in the back, I have a unit of greatswords. So we will see how these guys pan out. And then I have Carl up here on Deathclaw. He's ready for action. He's got his Warhammer out. And then I have the new Amber Wizard, or as I have coined him, Davy Crockett. So he's got his antlers, he's got his pimp cane. He's ready to do some work. So as far as the Beastmen composition goes, he's definitely going to be taking advantage of the mobility. If you take a look at these Ungor Raiders, they actually have pretty high speed. 38 is nothing to sneeze at. They have the Vanguard deployment, so definitely a very cool unit. So he's going to be using these to flank my left flank and do a lot of damage to these handgunners here. So definitely very well played on his part, as you guys will see. In the front line here, he has a group of Bestigor herds, which I really like. It's probably one of my favorite infantry. I feel like it's very cost effective. Kind of like, if you look at the stats, they have high armor, which is unusual for the Beastmen faction. Very good leadership, fairly fast. Not the fastest in the roster, but their melee attack is high. Their weapon strength is pretty good, and they have a decent charge bonus. So definitely a very, very cool unit. In the back, these units are just freaking awesome. The Minotaurs with great weapons. These guys are just devastating when they get in your ranks. Thankfully, my cannons are taking some pot shots at them as I give you guys this brief introduction. As far as his leadership goes, he has Malagor of the Dark Omen, so he's definitely going to be casting some nasty stuff and summoning Cygors and all that kind of stuff, so we'll see how it pans out. And this guy is the Giant. So as you guys will see, this guy is just an MVP this game. Usually I find Giants to be fairly ineffective, but man, you guys just wait. You're in for a treat. And in the far flank, he's got two groups of Centaurs. So these guys are pretty strong. They have fairly high, definitely, sorry, I was getting targeted with Karl Franz there, but they have pretty high speed, 91, decently armored, pretty good leadership, and just definitely a decent cavalry unit. To be honest, I like to go more of just a blitzkrieg style without cavalry because I feel like the beast infantry are fast enough, but that's just my 2 cents. So let's get this started. So instantly he comes in with these Ungor Raiders and gets a nice angle here. And again, I turned my handgunners to deal with them, but regardless, they swarm, they're fast, and you know my guys are returning fire, but I'm going to take a lot more losses here. So he does pull in with these Centaurs. So I pull over a group of spearmen as well as my Demogryph Knights and Papa Carl here to chase them off. So I definitely feel I have superior cavalry here. So I decide to engage here. And then also here, I try using I forget what that ability is called. It's a magic missile spear effect, but it does a lot of damage to your own infantry. And to be honest, I felt it was very lackluster. So I definitely do not use that again this game. But regardless, these handgunners are getting a nice little firing squad off here. And my spearmen, I pull them back knowing that I want my ranks to be tight. And these handgunners are getting some nice shots off on his Bestigor herds. But again, his cavalry are just getting decimated by Carl and the Demogryph Knights. So I just wanted to eliminate them before the battle starts. So I did pull back the cannons a little late. I didn't anticipate the speed, so I'm used to playing other factions. So I pull my troops and I turn these cannons around. But again, the Giant gets in there. But thankfully, he's being engaged by spearmen who are quite, good fodder for that type of thing. So at that point, I do use Wise Hand's Wild Form to give them weapon damage and armor, because they will definitely need that. They're getting hit by a Giant as well as 2 Bestigor herds. So as far as my other flank, I pull back my handgunners who are already shaken, and I engage with the group of greatswords, feeling them as well as these handgunners taking shots here will be able to do pretty well for themselves. So he is using Devolve on me, which is so good. It does so much damage and it has a wide spread. And he also summons a Cygor in my front line. So thankfully I had these handgunners ready, and they are just going to tee off on this guy here, as well as some of these greatswords. So this Cygor, he's definitely crushing with that rock, but he's also taking a lot of damage. So, and I just summoned my Manticore, getting ready to use him. And my goon squad here in the back with Carl and Davy Crockett, they're just routing his raiders. So I really like to use them with a group of Demogryph Knights, just sweep the back. It's hard for factions like these guys to keep up, but this Giant comes in and does a lot of damage here. So definitely watch out for him. So you got to run ASAP and just continue to chase down his cavalry. So again, making really good progress here. But as far as the front line goes, I'm having a bit of a hard time. These spearmen are doing okay, but those Bestigors, as well as the Vile Storm he just cast, are definitely going to get through that line. These Bestigors are doing well. This Cygor has been taking a ton of damage from this firing line. Again, they are a big magnet, so in using them, certainly be careful, and you do not want them taking that kind of fire. It's going to be going down very shortly. So I finally get this cannon back. Definitely a blunder earlier, but I start to turn it around, and I'm like, all right, let's take out that Cygor. Go, go. And over here, these greatswords and handgunners, they fought valiantly, but again, these Minotaurs are just such savage units. And again, they're very expensive, so it's understandable that they are. But thankfully, I almost did take them out, so... Something that's really good about the Manticore is you can use them to snipe generals and to chase down pertinent threats like this. He is making, this Manticore, or Pharaoh Manticore I should say, is making short work of Malagor, which is great. Very, very good value. That's just one spell, and look at the damage he's doing. It is just absolutely devastating. So regardless, that was definitely a very good use of him, and he's just flying around and dive bombing him and all kinds of stuff. So as far as my front line here with the Spearmen, they're starting to collapse against these Bestigor herd. It's not a favorable matchup for them. Granted, they are resilient for standing in there as long as they did. Karl Franz gathered up with some of these greatswords, and you know these Minotaurs had to be dealt with. They were just tearing up everything in the back line. So I bring Karl Franz as well as Davy Crockett over here to help, and they have the support of some Spearmen as well. And I noticed that this line here, I didn't want them to just collapse, so I pull in the greatswords here, and you know I had to stop this giant from getting back to Karl and that other engagement. So. And of course, back here, the Manticore is still just chasing down Malagor, who is now broken. So, and this other group of greatswords, they won their skirmish over there. And also, these guys came back from routing. So, I was feeling kind of optimistic. And if you look at the bar, it was, what, 268 to 295? So, I was feeling good. And, you know, these Minotaurs were going down. The Amber Wizard and Karl Franz did take a lot of damage. There was only like 6 Minotaurs left. And look how much damage they did to Karl Franz as well as Davy Crockett. Definitely not fun. So those guys are broken, and they'll be back, unfortunately. So then at this point, it's kind of the apocalyptic battle here in the center. So I pull in these guys knowing that giant, if he stays there, he's just going to absolutely devastate me. So as you can see, it's a pretty pitched battle here. I have some great swords fighting against these Centaurs. He still has some Bestigor Horde, and Davy Crockett is fighting here. I'm trying to remember what I ended up using here. I think I used some sort of a unit buff on Karl. Yeah, I used the wild form to give him weapon damage, but look how much damage he took. That was the turning point in the battle. I should have been more careful. I should have kited out the giant, used these handgunners to pick it off and whittle it down, but Karl took a beating, and I to be honest, just never recovered from that. My units scatter, and you know, it was a really tough one here. So again, these Demogryph Knights getting in here, just such an MVP, just such a good unit. They're just breaking and running down his units, and you know, they fight to the death, but eventually, you know, the beasts eventually catch up with them. Their numbers are running thin, and you know, there's not much they can do. These Centaurs are quite fast, but they pay their dues. So at this point, I notice, as you can see, I have a lot of units scattered throughout here. So I start to reform right here and pull all my troops together, and in the meanwhile, those Demogryph Knights definitely make a heroic last stand. So I really, really, really thought I had this. I really did. And, you know, really well played on the opponent. I used that magic missile there. And that ability costs 10 wins of magic, I believe, and it just sucks. Do not use it, guys. It's just not very good. I think if I had used my wins of magic a little more effectively, I could have maybe pulled this one out. But, again, very well played of my opponent. So, he's bringing his beast squad up here. I have my handgunners up here in the jungle somewhere. Or, it's not jungle, it's a forest. So, they're shooting at that giant. I knew that was the last threat. So, again, my forces come back, and, you know, they're tired, they're exhausted. So are his troops, and we essentially just have our last fight here. But this freaking giant, man, I'm telling you, he's just the beast. Even though he has no lord, this guy just comes in and you know, look at him, just so imposing with those giant freaking doom horns of his. And he just gets in here and causes terror, of course, as a giant unit like that. And he just freaking crushes my resistance here. And even with these handgunners here, I thought I might be able to pick it down. So I pull and blast my troops, and you know, Karl Franz is over here. And this Manticore, I was like, okay, homeboy's going to come back and, you know, do away with this giant, but that was not the case. So we'll fast forward a little bit because it's a little bit tedious here. So I bring in this Manticore, and I'm like, all right, go, go, go. Fight to the death. So the giant doesn't start off doing that strong, but just look at that. He gets some big hits. Those are huge hits, and he just takes him out. So I brought back, I should have timed it a little better, but granted, I was just desperate, and I had units routing, and I tried to take out this unit maybe to cause some enemy rout. To, you know, if I had routed those units, then the giant would have suffered a morale hit from the rout. But again, that was one of the best battles I've fought in a while. It was a really, really good, tight matchup. So, really good game to Master C Go. He did a very good job microing his units and was really efficient with that giant, even though his lord got taken out quite early by Davy Crockett and the company. So Karl Franz did quite well for himself. Could have maneuvered him a little better. A huge game-breaking mistake. I definitely shouldn't have engaged that giant. I should have kept him back, used him to reform my ranks, and then engaged the giant. I think with his leadership and microing him a little better, I could have maybe pulled that out. The spearmen, again, they didn't do much. They just fought and absorbed the blow of his front line, and then the greatswords were able to get in there. The handgunners really didn't do that good, though in their defense, I did have them targeting his giant and monstrous units for most of the fight. So again, they're not going to rack up a lot of kills that way. Great cannon. To be honest, I don't know if I like siege against beastmen. I feel like they're too fast. They get there, they close the distance so quick that you don't really have an opportunity to get a lot of value out of those. Again, Demogryph Knights, I think if I had just gotten rid of a great cannon and pulled, and another unit, perhaps maybe got rid of a spearman, gotten another group of Demogryph Knights, I would have been in good shape. So again, his best were herd, a very, very good unit, did very well. The Raiders did not do so well, but neither did the Centaurs. But essentially, that Minotaur group with great weapons, as well as that giant, just freaking beast moded me this game. So again, really good game to Master C Go. I look forward to seeing you again on Ladder Man. It was a great game. And thank you all for watching. Definitely more content coming this weekend, and I appreciate all your support, guys. Have an excellent Friday night. Take care, guys.